Welcome in to this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Look, I'll be the first to tell you, that loss the Chiefs suffered on Sunday night was extremely difficult. But, folks, we've been spoiled here in the Chiefs Kingdom over the last several years. It's been really good for us. And I still love this team. I know they hurt me. It was difficult what we all experienced and went through this past Sunday night. But if you still love the Kansas City Chiefs, if you support this team through thick and thin, if you're not jumping off any bandwagons or anything like that, I need you to like today's video. Who knows? Maybe Patrick or Andy or Brett Veach, somebody within the Chiefs organization is watching. We want to make sure our support is heard loud and clear. Hit that like button, and we'll get started here on this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report. Damn brutal. That loss to the Philadelphia Eagles was very painful, folks. But as we examine the tape and look through how exactly it happened, folks, I'll be the first to tell you that loss to Philly looks 1,000 times worse on the All-22 tape than what we saw with our very own eyes on Sunday night. Glad to have you with us here on the channel. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. The Chiefs fell to the Eagles. You guys know it, 40-22 in just a abysmal performance on Sunday night. Nothing went right for this team in any way, shape, or form. And there's three things in particular that I want to point to of what exactly went wrong for Kansas City that stood out on film compared to what we saw in real time. Let's start with this, how the Eagles dominated the Chiefs. They were able to effectively use their pass rush with just rushing 4 players and only dropping 7 guys. It was pretty impressive that they were able to get to Patrick Mahomes and create that pressure without sending real blitzes, that they were able just to use the guys up front. And when you do that, when you can do that effectively, that opens up your entire defense. That's what we saw from Philadelphia. Mahomes under duress. He was sacked a total of 6 times on Sunday night for a loss of 31 total yards. And it wasn't even just the sacks. He was under pressure all night. 15 pressures that he took throughout the evening. And of what are technically blitzes, when you use more than your front 4, we didn't see any of that. Vic Fangio and company had an incredible game plan for how they attack Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs offense, exploiting the Chiefs offensive line. And there's another thing that I point to that I think is not getting enough attention. Was Patrick Mahomes playing this game concussed? If you go back early in the first quarter, there was an ugly hit that Patrick Mahomes took where there was 2 hands involved that pushed his helmet to the ground. And he was never checked out about it. And Patrick was not going to take himself out of the game in the Super Bowl. That was going to have to be signaled by the Chiefs medical staff or NFL personnel. None of that happened. Now, do I know for certain if he was concussed or not? I don't know. But that could explain why Patrick Mahomes played arguably the worst game of his career when he took on that awful hit and didn't look like his normal self the rest of that evening. To me, that's one thing I wonder, did that happen or not, and does that explain why Mahomes did not play well in that game on Sunday? There are a few more things that we'll talk about here in just a bit, but we want to ask you guys, who is the most to blame for the Chiefs' loss against the Philadelphia Eagles? And I don't want to hear anything about officiating. You lose by 18 points, you don't have a right. You don't have a damn right to complain about officiating. Give me the real reason. What was the biggest reason why the Chiefs lost to the Philadelphia Eagles? Weigh in the comments section and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan, and if you haven't tried Z-Biotics, you're going to be a big fan too. Ever skipped a workout because of drinks the night before? Me too. If you're committed to your healthy routine this year, you need Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. I just tried pre-alcohol for the first time this past week when I was in New Orleans, having myself a good time at Super Bowl week, and I can honestly say there is no better way to feel my best the morning after drinking than with Z-Biotics, and you feel so good the next day. It's as if you weren't even drinking the night before. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code chatsports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guaranteed, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. Number 2 on reasons why the Eagles dominated. And what I point to is what the edge rushers did for Philadelphia. They stayed contained throughout the night against Kansas City. They really held their own time and time again. Let's go to the first quarter. This was 10:03 to go with a 3rd and 9 from the Kansas City 24-yard line. And what do you see there? The edge rushers, they're contained. They have the angles that they need, that they were looking for. And here's another view at it, as you can see. This was exactly what they were looking for in those circumstances. They had them right where they wanted them in those spots from every asset of what they were able to take advantage from this Chiefs offense. And that's just one example on that 3rd and 9 from the Chiefs 24. And obviously that resulted in the Eagles ultimately getting the football back. Then we move ahead to a 2nd and 14 play. This is in the second quarter with 7:58 to go from the Kansas City 26-yard line. And it's the same thing again. The edge rushers holding contain. They have the angles that they're looking for as the Philadelphia Eagles were able to maximize pressure just with their front there on the defensive line, creating openings for the edge rushers to do their thing and hold serve from their spot. And obviously, this didn't result in points for Kansas City, as you very well know. Then we skip ahead even a little bit further. Let's go to the 42nd mark of the second quarter. 40 seconds remaining. The Chiefs had a 3rd and 11 from the Kansas City 29. And what do we see again? The edge rushers continue to keep things contained, as this was the play that DeAndre Hopkins was wide open, and Patrick Mahomes gets him the ball, and it goes right through D-Hop's hands. And I'll say this much, as you're looking at the film here, D-Hop obviously should have had that first down, but there was so much pressure created that Mahomes was throwing an uncharacteristic throw. That's not where he was intending to throw from as he was under pressure, that made this play extremely difficult to make. It doesn't excuse why DeAndre Hopkins dropped this pass, ultimately speaking, and obviously this kind of hurt momentum as the Chiefs were trying to get points before the half, but it's par for the course of what we continued to see all night long from the way the Eagles were able to get after Patrick Mahomes with their pass rush time and time again. This loss was awful. And for me, I said this before and I'll say it again, this was the most painful loss I think I've experienced since being a Kansas City Chiefs fan. The Bucs lost several years ago in the Super Bowl. It was the COVID year. I think people kind of forget about that. You lost to Tom Brady, his final hoorah. I can kind of live with that. This one, you just had no chance. No chance from the very beginning of this game. There never felt like there was hope at all. And this was a golden opportunity to three-peat, to keep this dynasty going strong. This was painful. This is the worst loss for me that I've experienced. Do you believe it was the worst loss? Weigh in, let us know. Y for yes, in for no. Throughout the entire offseason, we're going to have your Chiefs covered like no one else is with our daily news and rumors. We're going to bring you live shows each and every Tuesday. We'll still have breaking news, interactive Q&A mailbags. And on top of that, folks, we're going to cover everything from the draft, free agency, trades, daily videos, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day. If you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, this is the channel for you. You need to subscribe now for free for the latest happenings on your favorite team throughout the entire offseason. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. Number 3, on how the Eagles dominated this game, they exposed the Chiefs' offensive line. And one of the things that I kept saying throughout the season here in 2024 and into 2025, the fear for me in the back of my mind was this idea that the Chiefs' offensive line, that things could catch up to them, that they have a performance similar to what we saw in the Bucs Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And that's what happened in this case, where the Chiefs' offensive line for weeks on end did enough, but were they going to eventually get exposed? Was it going to catch up to them? And that's exactly what happened this past week against Philadelphia. And you go through the grades. Let's start with Kareem Hunt. The thing I would say, even Kareem Hunt, who's the best center in the National Football League, he did not have a great night. No one was flawless. No one was blameless on this offensive line against Philadelphia. Although Creed's grades were solid, as you see there, 72.1 offensive grade, 85 pass block grade, 65.3 run block grade, he still had a penalty in this game. He did not completely do his job on that front. And if you go on down the line, Joe Thuney, who's been fantastic this season, has done a really good job stepping into that left tackle role when they needed. His grades, not bad. 65.0 offensive grade, 60.7 pass block grade, 67.6 run block grade, but he allowed a sack. And you cannot do that. You are making life even harder on Patrick Mahomes. All those pressures, 15 total pressures, and then allowing sacks and penalties. Everybody on this Chiefs team had at least a sack or a penalty that hurt this offense in some way, shape, or form. Trey Smith, was this potentially his last game with the Kansas City Chiefs as he heads towards free agency? His offensive grade, a 63.2. His pass block grade was not very good at all, a 49.2. And his run block grade was a 71.5. And Trey Smith accounted for 1 sack given up and a penalty as well. Unacceptable from Trey Smith there. And then I go to Jawan Taylor. Jawan Taylor, his grades, 62.6 offense, 57.3 pass block, 67.3 run block grade. Did not allow a sack, but he got called for a penalty. And it was a very costly penalty at that he got called for. And then we go to Mike Calindo, who stepped in at the left guard spot, with Joe Thuney playing the left tackle position. And Big Mike had arguably his worst game of the entire season. His grades were awful. A 32 offensive grade, a 30.1 pass block grade, and a 30.1 run block grade. And then on top of that, he allowed a sack, and he had a penalty as well. So you can see the ongoing theme. Even the guys that we know and love and that we trust, Humphrey, Thuney, Trey Smith, no one was blameless. Now, some guys were better than others, but this was a total meltdown and a lackluster effort from everybody on this offensive line that got exposed, and they got exposed against 4-man fronts. All right, it wasn't even the Eagles sending some heavy blitzes here. To me, that is unacceptable, and Brett Veach has got some major work to do this offseason to try to fix this offensive line. You'd like to keep Trey Smith around. We'll see about that. That's going to be difficult. You got to figure out a solution at the left tackle spot because you would like to move Joe Thuney back to his normal position at the left guard spot. But this was very, very bad. Do you think Brett Veach is going to fix the offensive line this offseason? How confident are you feeling about that? Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Comment in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. Better days are ahead, folks. We'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report.